You know that feeling, right? That sense that the world is just accelerating, and trying to keep up is, well, it's exhausting. But what if there was a different way? What if there was a new map for navigating all this chaos? Today, we're going to dive into a project called The Next Human Renaissance, and it's a framework that came from a really profound personal crisis.
So let's just start there. That quote is from the project's creator, Renee Francis Kahn. Can you even imagine a crisis so deep it forces you to rethink, well, everything you thought you knew? That's where this story begins. It's not just a medical emergency. It was the spark for a whole new way of looking at the world.
And this is so much more than a personal story about recovery. It's about a discovery made at absolute rock bottom, a pattern that helps explain why so many of us feel so ungrounded, and more importantly, how we can start to find our footing again.
Waking up from that coma brought this incredibly stark realization. Our time here is finite. The author felt this profound urgency to just get her work out into the world, whether it was finished or not, because the ideas were just too important to wait for perfection.
Think about that mindset for a second. It's such a radical shift from how we normally operate, always chasing perfection. This is all about sharing something valuable right now, even if it's not totally proven. This whole project is basically a gift, one that's driven by the very real, very raw reality of our own mortality.
So, this personal crisis, it actually shines a light on a collective one. The project gives a name to that feeling of constant overwhelm that so many of us are dealing with. It's called the coherence gap.
So what exactly is this gap? Okay, think of it like this. Technology, information, the pace of change, it's all moving at light speed. But our bodies, our nervous systems, they're still running on a much slower, more ancient human operating system. That space, that disconnect between the world's crazy pace and our own natural rhythm, that's the coherence gap.
So, how does this gap actually show up in our day-to-day lives? Just see if any of these sound familiar. It's that chronic overwhelm where you feel like you're just drowning in your to-do list. Or relational brittleness, I love that term, where our connections with people feel so fragile because we're just too wiped out to nurture them. The big takeaway here is that this isn't some personal failing on your part. It's a systemic issue. It's a symptom of the gap.
And this is exactly why more productivity hacks are not the answer. We can't just life hack our way out of this problem. The solution isn't to somehow get faster. It's to completely reorient ourselves, to find our way back to a more grounded, more human-centered way of being.
Okay, so how in the world do we reorient? Well, the project gives us a framework for bridging that coherence gap. And it's all about tapping into 4 different kinds of intelligence that, believe it or not, we all already have. We just tend to neglect them.
Let's break these down real quick. First up, you've got somatic intelligence, or SI1. That's the wisdom of your body. You know, the gut feelings, the physical sensations that tell you something's up. Second is spiritual intelligence, or SI2. Think of this as your soul's compass, your sense of purpose. Third is good old human intelligence, HI, our ability to think, reason, and create meaning. And finally, algorithmic intelligence, or AI, but used in a very specific way, not to replace us, but to support us.
And here's where the magic happens. When you bring all 4 of these online together, your body, your soul, your mind, and the right tools, you unlock what the author calls regenerative intelligence, or RI. And this isn't just about feeling a little bit better. It's a state of deep coherence that lets you feel grounded and clear, even when the world around you is pure chaos.
Now, this framework completely reframes how we think about AI. Instead of seeing it as a master that tells us what to do, AI becomes a mirror. It's a tool that helps clarify our own thinking, that reflects our own intentions back to us. In other words, it's a partner, not a boss. That's a huge distinction.
Okay, this all sounds really powerful in theory, right? But it brings up a super practical question. How do we actually start using these 4 intelligences in our real, messy, everyday lives to find that coherence we're all looking for?
Well, the project offers a seriously practical tool for this. It's a workbook that's designed to help you create your very own guidebook for life. You can think of it as a personal instruction manual for navigating your own world.
Now, at the heart of this guidebook are these 5 compass questions. And they might look simple, but wow, are they potent. They really push you to get brutally honest about what you want, why you want it, and what you're actually willing to sacrifice to get it. You can think of these as your personal anchor for pretty much any big decision in life. And here's the key. This guidebook isn't something you write once and then shove in a drawer. No, it's a living, breathing document. It's a place where you capture the wisdom you've earned from your own turning points,
your own hard-won lessons. It becomes a story of your life's most essential truths.
And this individual work, it's just the beginning. The vision actually scales up from this personal coherence to collective action, with the ultimate goal of building something called a lighthouse network.
The lighthouse is such a powerful metaphor, isn't it? A beacon of clarity and safety in a chaotic sea. The idea is to build these lighthouses right inside our own communities, these little points of coherence that start with one person, one story at a time. And there's actually a clear roadmap for how this whole thing grows. It starts with the individual spark of creating your own guidebook. Then that leads to gathering and workshops. Those gatherings help build lighthouses, civic anchors, maybe in local libraries, which then connect to form a global archipelago of coherent communities. It's a really cool model for scaling change from the inside out.
So the ultimate goal here isn't some loud top-down revolution. It's a quiet, powerful, community-led renaissance. It's a reawakening of human coherence that grows organically from the ground up.
This quote really gets to the core of it all. It's about personal agency. In the wild, uncharted territory of modern life, we can't just wait around for someone else to give us a map. We have to become the map makers ourselves, creating the trail as we walk it.
So this all brings us to one final big question for you to think about. If you had to boil down your life's hardest-won lessons into your own personal guidebook, what's the one essential truth you would want to leave behind for the next generation? What is the core wisdom that you are the trail for?